Hello, this is Travis from the Photoverse Project. With SMP King.io now released, along with Shodo Super on the horizon, as well as that of SMP Victory Mars, I thought I'd talk about a few, but not really, picks on those two lines in particular. On the one hand, you have Shodo Super, which allows the various teams to be in one package, and with a boatload of accessories. And on the other, you have SMP, whose whole modus operandi, well, for the Sentai stuff anyway, is to update the older DXs with added articulation. And with Sentai's 50-year history, you have so many options for both lines. And today, I want to throw my hat into the ring and share my picks for some Shodo Supers and SMP releases. But we need to establish some things first. 1. No current teams. These tend to be reserved for Yudo and regular Minipla. 2. For some teams, they will be tied to their respective show's anniversary. 3. The options here are completely randomized, so meaning I have picked many of these on a whim. With that out of the way, let's start with the glaringly obvious, given the whole 20th anniversary this year, and that is Deca Ranger. It's not much of a surprise, isn't it? But seriously though, a Shodo Super for Deca Ranger would probably be a stacked affair, much like the future Kyoryuger sets that were confirmed when the Shodo Super Kyoryuger was announced. The extra sets I want to see are the ones for SWAT mode, Deca Master and Deca Swan, Deca Master being on the left, and Deca Swan being on the right. And the creme de la creme would probably be the Fire Squad set, because that's going to come with a Fire Squad conversion piece for Deca Red and Premier Deca Red itself, with minor conversion parts for denoting who is wearing that particular suit. And as for the SMP, this is going to be a difficult task, and it's particularly tricky. You see, the original DX Deca Ranger Robo had light and sound gimmicks built into it, and this is something that would likely be gutted for the SMP release. Makes sense. Bandai has this nasty tendency to sell their LED units separately from the main unit. Or in the case of SMP, they don't do this at all. So this is pretty unlikely for Deca Ranger Robo to retain said gimmick. And if I'm being honest, while I do want to see Bandai pull a Mega Ranger and bundle both Deca Ranger Robo and Deca Bike Robo, mostly for the sake of Super Deca Ranger Robo, I don't think that's feasible, because with Mega Ranger, Galaxy Mecha had the benefit of being a single component mecha, whereas Deca Ranger Robo, which you're seeing right here, is a 5-component mecha. So the chances of that bundle existing is slim. Speaking of Deca Bike Robo, I feel like that would be either a retail release or be relegated on P Bandai. Though there isn't much consistency with what is or isn't P Bandai, at least on the SMP side of things. Now, Deca Base Robo Deca Wing Robo and the Blast Buggy, I could probably see them as being the big peeps. Deca Base Robo probably would have the molded details on the chest, much like the original suit, and possibly have it's still able to retain its ability to store the individual components for both Deca Ranger and Deca Wing. The Blast Buggy, yeah, I basically see it as being a P Bandai sort of deal because, well, it was movie exclusive, so there's that. For this next pick, I figured, now that Zyuranger's out and Kyoryuger releasing next year, well, January of next year to be precise, I figured, why don't we round out the first 3 Dino Sentai with Abaranger? To be honest, I'm kind of surprised they never got around to this team last year, given because that too had an anniversary, and not to mention it was the release of Abaranger 20th. But I feel like that's because, well, one, I don't think that happened because of the release of the Dino Brace, the Memorial Dino Brace, to be precise. And two, and this is the less likely reason, it probably was overshadowed by Kyoryuger because of the crossover with King Ultra and what have you. Both in series and in V-Cinema form, as well as a new, fully articulated DX Kyoryugen, which happens to have compatibility with the 4 other Shoe Gods, which are seen next to me in my lightbox. Anyway, this one is a bit straightforward. Core 5 first, or 4, depending on how they handle Abra Killer, and separate releases for the 2 Abra Max forms. Yeah. Why did I say 2? It's mostly referring to Cho Abra Max, because as of this video, that form never got a proper figure, be it from Shodo Super or as a figure arts, but knowing how Tamashii Nation treats Sentai, I'm not going to hold my breath. Another one I wanted to see happens to be, funnily enough, the Armor of Darkness. But that's kind of because it's so cool. Then again, it is connected to some of the major villains and to one of the Abra Rangers themselves. So I guess that would work. Not to mention Armored Wicked Life Warrior. Yeah, I wanted to see that one materialize at some point. As for the SMP, yeah, this is going to run into the same problem as Deca Ranger Robo, because ABRNO is mostly known for its motorized gimmicks, so that one is likely to be gutted as well. As for the rest, I'm not so sure. Slydon and Top Galer would probably be in one set as Killer O, though there's a high chance that would become P Bandai as well. However, my main concern mainly comes from the auxiliary Bakuryu. And, well, it got me thinking, why not bundle them with Max Osha? That way they could form Max Ryo, packaged in 5, maybe 6 boxes, depending on how they handle Stirako and the Dino Gary. And Brachiosaurus would probably be the largest out of the whole lot. Packaged in 5, maybe 6 boxes at best. Or 1 box, considering it's so huge. Now, the next couple of entries are here mostly to round out the 90s Sentai lineup. And here's another team that I want to see. O-Ranger. This one's going to be a bit fun, considering what I'm going to talk about later regarding the SMP. Hang up, let me just... I can't really say much on the Shodo Super side of things, because it probably wouldn't come with anything else apart from the Core 5. Or possibly 6, depending on how they handle King Ranger. Come to think of it, how are they going to handle this entire set? Who knows? The SMP... Oh boy. I wanted to talk about this because... Well... I feel that O-Ranger Robo is that one Sentai mech that would probably be the easiest to translate as a SMP. Not only because of its well-rounded proportions, but it's possibly the most articulate out of the whole lot. And as for Red Puncher, chances are its gimmicks are going to be gutted as well, because, you know, it's electronic based. Much like with our previous 2 examples. And then there's the last 3 or 4, that being King Pyrameter, Taco Boy, and O-Blocker. Yeah, O-Blocker and Ganmajin. Pyrameter and Taco Boy, well boy. I always get the feeling that Pyrameter would probably be in its own, in a few separate boxes tops, because, well, that thing is freaking huge. And a brick, no less. Yeah. King Pyrameter is basically a brick. A brick that could be easily translated into SMP form. And as for Taco Boy, the chances of that... Well, Taco Boy would probably have improved proportions from its original DX counterpart, so make of that what you will. Both of those would probably be on the P Bandai side of things. O-Blocker, well, it's for the exact same reason. It does have the articulation needed to be an easily posable SMP, so that one I imagine it would be retail rather than, say, AP Bandai. The former would probably be in 2-3 boxes because of the size. And as for Ganmajin, oh man, Ganmajin. I've been debating to myself whether it would be a Shodo Super, like with Ninja Man in Kakuranger, or an SMP. It's very likely the latter because, well, it's very likely to stick to the original gimmicks, and the original transformation for that matter. It just happens to be more articulate is all. Either way, whatever option Bandai goes with, I would be fine. But then again, with Ganmajin, the guy is treated more like a mecha than a ranger, so make of that what you will. Continuing on the 90s Sentai train, Another one I wanted to talk about, given unfortunate recent events, is Karenja. I never thought I'd be talking about this. So what do we have in mind? Well, Core 5, as per usual, and a separate set for Signalman and VRV Master. You know, I'm kind of curious as to how that's going to work. And for the SMP, it's actually far more straightforward than you would think. Because RV Robo and VRV Robo don't have extra gimmicks to them, they are thankfully much easier to translate into articulate figures. Plus, thanks to them having interchangeable limbs, but not in the Scramble City style, that gimmick could probably carry over to the SMP. Siren Term also would probably translate well into an SMP as well. The Victorailer, of course, would end up becoming a brick. And hey, if Bandai's feeling particularly cheeky, why not make a Radiacar Robo just for funsies? Sure, it's weird, but hey, it's on brand for Car Ranger after all. And now we shift to the 2010s era of Sentai. Beginning with Go Busters. I know, it's a wild choice considering, from what I understand, the show did not do so well initially when it came out. But still, I think Go Busters does deserve some love. The main Shodo Super set would likely come with likely the Core 3 and their corresponding accessories, but also the powered custom parts. I mean, they are just armor after all. Beat and Stack Buster would probably come separately, or probably be bundled with the main set in exchange for the powered custom parts. And so would Dark Buster, but I'm not sure what accessories is going to come with. Something I left out in the script has to do with the Buddy Roids, but even then, I'm over here thinking, how? How exactly? And as for Enter Unite and Escape Evolve, this is where things get somewhat complicated, especially in regards to the latter. You see, Escape has three Unite forms. Flower Unite, Animal Unite, and Escape Zeta. I imagine that the former two would be bundled together, probably as a PE Bandai set, and the latter three would probably be bundled in that set. I'll also be Peebs. And as for the SMP side of things, we're gonna go start with Go Buster O. Because, well, one of my main problems with the original DX was its proportions, because the legs formed from the gorilla are not flush to that of Go Buster Ace's legs. So I guess there's a chance for improvement there. The same goes for Go Buster Beat, whose arm placement on the DX looked really off in places, because it, like, sticks out to where the chest is supposed to go. And as for Tatagami Alayo, not a lot would change, actually. I mean, sure, no lights and sounds, but that's fine by me. There's another 2010s era Sentai team that I want to talk about, but it's not the one you're probably thinking of at the moment. Yes, this one is about Go Sager. Another wild card, considering, well, you got the idea. Well, it's pretty much the same ordeal. Core 5 with the necessary accessories. Oh hey, that rhymes. I'm mostly concerned is the second set, i.e. the one that's supposed to be included with Gosei Knight. I'm actually curious if it's going to come with these Super Gosei reports and the 5 Gosei Tenswords. Bonus points if it could combine with the Tensoders to create the Super Tensword. Now, for the SMPs. I'm genuinely curious as to how they're going to handle the header system. Would it be like pegs, like a regular mini blah, or the same connector system as the original DX? Or just gonna wait and see. I'm also curious about the 3 sets of the header brothers, Skyik, Seik, and Landik. I guess they would probably be bundled with Data's Hyper, but there's a high chance that it would be separate releases like their original DX counterparts. And yes, Gosei Ground and Gosei Wonder are going to be separate releases as well, though chances are they would be Pete Bandai. Mystic Brother would probably retain its gimmicks as well, but there's a high chance it would be Pete Bandai as well. Okay, I have been saving this for last, because I have a lot to talk about with this one. Especially because I wanted a smaller scale version of one of my Sentai Holy Grails. Of course, I am referring to none other than Maji Ranger. And we wrap up this list with the one that I'm eager to see. For the Core 5, I want to see the 3 alternate versions of the Maji Stick, the Maji Punch, and the Green Muscle Conversion ports. And along with so many hands. The first part, that goes without saying. But the Maji Punch and the Green Muscle Conversion parts, yeah, that's going to be pretty wild. The capes are likely to be static, but that goes without saying. I'm not exactly sure what the others are going to do, though. Or what to do with the others. We're gonna get to the 2 Woolsards later, but for now I'm mostly concerned with Maji Mother on the far right, and Maji Shine, who's in between Maji Blue and Maji Red. The former probably wouldn't have a lot of accessories due to not having a lot of appearances. And Maji Shine would probably come with the Maji Lamp. The Legend Maji Rangers, however, yeah, those are the ones I'm looking forward to. Heck, throw in the Rock Armor and the Dial Rod Bowgun as a bonus, and we're gold. And if Bandai felt like it, they'd probably release a Maji Ranger set with the 5, 6, probably 7 Heavenly Saints. I know it's not gonna be possible, but oh well. Now, the SMPs. Oh boy, where do I begin? First off, Maji King. I have one question. How would you make Maji Fairy and Maji Mermaid, at least with her combined tail, posable? Maji Taurus, Maji Garuda, and Maji Phoenix would do just fine, but Mermaid and especially Fairy? I'm not sure. They probably pulled some black magic with Mermaid and her tail, but Fairy, that's going to be a daunting task. You may have noticed I've left out both Woolsard and Woolsard Fire in that Shodo Super portion of... Yeah, I left out those 2 in particular because, well, I never bring Woolsard up without bringing up Woolkaiser. Because, well, I feel like Woolsard is permanently bonded with Barkion. Much like how Maji Phoenix is basically much like how Unigolon is associated with Maji Phoenix. Yeah, I feel like if Woolsard became a Shodo Super, Woolkaiser probably wouldn't be in the cards, but hey, why not just double dip? And as for Traveleon and Maji Legend, those 2 would work fine without the need for electronics. The former benefited greatly from added articulation, because the darn thing's a brick. And the latter is now more dynamic thanks to the lack of motorized gimmicks. And of course, how can I forget about the very regal looking Saint Kaiser? I mean, sure, while Utagolon is more or less a retool of Barkion in some areas, ironically, Saint Kaiser left a huge impression on me thanks to the white and gold color scheme. And out of all the Magi Ranger mechs I want to see in SMP, Saint Kaiser is the one that I wanted to see the most. It is my holy grail, after all. And there we have it. My picks for some Shodo Super and SMP. There is a lot more Sentai teams I want to see in both of these lines. Well, disregarding current teams, because we have Yudo, because as I've said in the beginning, we have Yudo and regular Mini-Plot for that. But we'll save that for another time. For now, I just want to ask you, what do you think of my picks for Shodo Super and SMP? If you have any other ideas, drop them in the comments. For now, and this is Travis from the Photoverse Project. Thank you for watching, and until next time, farewell.